it's a commercial plant. And then B&W is going to retire that plant in 2017. We stepped in and bought that and acquired all their all their fuel sites as well. And then lastly is Culver Green Energy. It's 110 megawatts, built in 1995. It's also in Cambria County. That had a 25-year power purchase agreement that it ended in 2020, and then Northern Star actually closed that plant in May. We acquired it in August, restarted in October, and been running ever since. So the three combined plants have a 687 net megawatts. It's in PJM grid. All three are merchant plants, and we're counted as a Tier 2 renewable energy in Pennsylvania. And we have a combined availability of over 90% for those plants. So just a comparison, at 687 megawatts on the Tier 1 renewables, that would be over 21,000 acres of solar panels, or about 275 windmills. Our reclamation progress from 2001 through the end of August, we have reprocessed almost 95 million tons of waste coal and returned about 86 million tons of screen rejects or beneficial use ash back to the mine sites for reclamation. That's about an 80% total return rate. That's largely due, we add about 20 to 25% pulverized limestone in the combustion process for sulfur capture. All the plants that have Title V air permits with the DEP and EPA, that we have 92 to 95% sulfur capture from the incoming fuel. And during that same time, we've completely reclaimed 76 different waste coal sites and 1,740 acres in 15 counties in western PA. And we have 36 additional sites that are either active or they're completed and we're waiting bond release. So that would be another 3,450 acres. Those first three paragraphs, that's the largest mine reclamation project in the country that we've done. And majority of those projects were done without any state or federal subsidies. But, we say we're eating that donut from the middle out. Most of those plants are within 30 or 40 miles of those fuel sites because of trucking limitations and low BTU fuel. So after 30 years in Cambria County, if there's a refuse pile still there, there's an issue. It's either low quality, has access issues, or some problem, or it would have been reclaimed years ago. So we've been working very closely with AMR in Evansburg office of kind of an open book thing that we show them our long-term reserve plan. And if they have a targeted POW in a watershed, they're trying to do the watershed headwaters down approach to address AMD problems. And, if they have a watershed group or somebody that they're trying to target a POW, they'll ask us, is that in your fuel POW reserve? And in some cases it is, but it's 4,000 BTU, so it's years out. Or in some cases it isn't because of one of these problems with access or quality. So, like I said, most of those have been done without any help, but those POWs still remaining in that targeted watersheds, their standalone economics need a little support. So this brings up AMLER. A lot of folks in here know what that is, but in 2016, Congress had appropriated the funding for the AMLER program. The intent is to explore and implement strategies that return legacy coal sites to productive use, economic and community development. So OSM administers the AMLER program, and they provide the funds and guidance on the project eligibility. And the AMLER program, the projects come out, it's to really support local investment, local opportunities, and then not just a mine reclamation, that there's some other use when it's done, whether it's a sports fields or recreational trail or some industrial use. So I want to bring this on is from the economic impact of it. The plants that we have, the three plants are listed, plus the coal sites that serve that. And then there's a branch that we have that we have our own trucking company as well to support all this. So it's 434 total employees, and then the breakdowns of the counties are listed there. You can see it's very heavily around the counties that we operate out west, And then you can see the economic impact in 2024 of the money that comes back in. So when you're targeting these sites for AMLER projects to do that local investment, you know, that money is coming back to employees that are in this area. They're not coming from out of state to do a contracted job and leave. So there are folks that live there. These are projects we've done in the last 6 years, either completed or in progress. The first was Steinman. It's in Cambria County. We're going to go through a little picture show of the befores and afters of all these. Cambria County was on the Conemaugh River watershed. Thompsontown, this recently finished. That's up in Clearfield County on Susquehanna River. Kerbau Road, it's currently active. It's in Blair County, and it sits right on the Little J, banks of the Little J. Tide, we just started in May. It's in Indiana County on the Yellow Creek watershed. And then Vintondale is a project we completed in Cambria. It's on the Blacklick Creek watershed. John's going to talk about Blacklick later. So the one thing, though, is this is a pretty efficient use of the funding to clean this up. That the combined total of that was over 1.6 million tons, 86 acres, and the cost to the OSM was only $8.20 per refuse ton. And the reason being, Robindale gets waste coal tax credits from the state of $8 a ton to do this, and there's money that we're offsetting on the total cost. These projects go out to bid. In every case so far, we've been low bidder on the projects we do because we're reinvesting that tax credit back to offset the total cost of the projects. First one we'll talk about is Steinman. It was an AML pilot project. This was before the project was fully implemented. It was in Cambria County. It was about 215,000 tons reprocessed right on the banks of Little Conemaugh. And again, problem being that Johnstown area is right in our wheelhouse, but quality of that overall was only 3,900 BTUs, under 4,000 BTUs. Our spec for the plant is about 5,600 of an overall spec. So we have to blend this material with better quality materials to try to make a spec at the plant. It could not work as a standalone for us. There was a lot of non-usable burnt material. The Western PA folks, that's Red Dog, that the POWs are spontaneously combusting over time. This sitting there and emitting air emissions. All the carbon burns out and you're left with this sintered ash, looks red from the iron that's in there. That has no BTU value for us. So that becomes, we have to balance what's usable and non-usable. For this case, the grantee was the Cambria County Conservation and Rec Authority. We've done quite a few projects with them on stream reclamation projects. We were a subcontractor to them. The work started in April of 2019. We finished in October 2020. And the ultimate use of that is we created 1.7 miles of the biking hiking trail. And it's part of the Rec Authority's Path of the Flood Trail. You'll see when we get through the photos, the Conemaugh River runs. That's the 1888 flood for Johnstown, 1889, when the dam broke and the water rushed down through, went right beside where this POW is. So the project funding on that was 1.9 million, 1.976. Robindale's cost on that was about $1 million more. That the electricity that we sold through the power plants and the tax credits we do offset the cost of the reclamation. That won the OSM National Reclamation Award for the best project east of the Mississippi 2021 and the Governor's Environmental Excellence in 2022. This is a project location. It's about 7 miles northwest of Johnstown. The town of South Fork is in this shot too. You can see the town of South Fork's in the back. It kind of just hangs over the side. This is right after we started. He's going fast. This is the watershed. You can see the stream goes right down in. Top photo again, Little Conemaugh after we were in progress. Aerial shot, reclaiming down to the edge of the stream, clearing some of this channel. This is, this went much faster than I thought. Almost as fast as Glenn Thompson's address. That's after it was done. After it was done, part of it was seeded, and then the next part we seeded in the fall. That's after reclamation was complete. You can still see the town in the background. And this is after the trail was constructed out across the top. And our haul road coming in from the other site, where we hauled this out, like after we're done, we converted that back over to the rail trail. And then about half of that was partly covered by the refuse pile. And then we built another half from the tree line to get out to the road on the other side for them to complete up to the Johnstown Flood Memorial. That's the section that goes out through the wooded area. And that was all, completed right through the trees. This brings us, it didn't work, right? Thompson Town's AMLER. That was in Clearfield County, 140,000 tons. Again, very low quality, 4,500 BTUs. This work started in August of 2024, and we finished it in April. And, that's, a lot of these piles have sat for decades, nearly 100 years, they're sitting there, water pollution, air pollution, that, decades of problems there that are cleaned up in a few months. So this reclaimed 8 acres, and it was 1,200 feet of stream bank enhancement on Wilson Run, and that's a tributary to the West Branch. And again, project funding on this was 1.2. Our total cost was 1.6. Clearfield County Conservation District, the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and then there's a local cooperative trout nursery that literally sits right adjacent to this pile. During flood times, they would have refuse from the pile wash down and impact their trout hatchery. This is the before site. Had some tree growth on it. This was a pretty low sulfur pile, so there was not as much acidity there. It allowed some tree growth. The fish hatchery is on the kind of the top right side of the photo, so it was right below the pile. There are a few houses there, residents that, this was their everyday view, seeing that. This is after we got in and get started. All the trees were taken off. We recovered any usable timber, and then anything that was unusable, we stack along the outside edge to keep four-wheelers out later when we're done. So another shot, further reclamation. The bottom center of the photo, that's a beaver dam that stream floods into, and then it tops out, and you can see the serpentine channel going down through. This is after reclamation. All the stream channel work was done, so 1,200 feet, and prior to seeding. That's the after. So that was done from August to April of last year. Another shot, you can see the overall. And that's our trout hatchery, folks. They were very supportive of the project. We actually had our portable office trailer. They let us put it right by the trout hatchery, and we tapped into their electric line, so we didn't have to put in a new electric for the project, saved some money. Kerbal Road is about just under 300,000 tons reprocessed to date. We think there's about 400,000 total tons to come out. I think we'll finish this next March or April, Jeff? April. Yeah, the origin of this, it's unusual. This is the only pilot we've ever done in Blair County. Blair County is not in the historic coal range, but coal was brought down from Phillipsburg, brought down to there. This dates the whole way back to like the steam locomotive period with Pennsylvania Railroad there. So the quality there, a lot of the refuse that's there is actually the ash that they took out of the locomotives that was inefficient. It's actually burnt, but there's high carbon in the ash that we're reclaiming a lot of that. This was a project, again, 4,600 BTUs overall, so low BTUs. Thankfully, it's not very high sulfur. This is a project, too, that the DEP had done a project at the Lakemont Park in Altoona to dredge out the lake that's there. And that material was hauled and dewatered at this site, and then we're going to use that as final topsoil for the seeding. The project partner there is Annis Township, and it's 20 acres in Little Juniata watershed. And when we're done here as well, it'll be 1.25 miles of the biking, hiking is going to be one of the sections of that trail. I think their total trail is almost 30 miles long is what they're trying to build with this effort with DCD and Blair County to connect Altoona to Tyrone with a biking trail. Total project on funding on this is $5.9 million. and the total project cost to date for us is 5.2. Main cost of this one is trucking. It's quite a distance from our site for this one. This is the furthest one that we've done. Also unique, the Curbaugh site. The Curbaugh before, in June of 2024, this site was completely covered with trees. But I don't have the pointer, but above the train tracks, there's a little, you can see the Little Juniata River. Little Juniata River comes down and goes through a bridge underneath the railroad tracks. And then to the bottom left, there's kind of a wetland swamp there that this pile drained through right to the Little J. And the people that don't know, Little J is a very high quality trout watershed. It's one of my favorite fly fishing spots. So, 291. Whoops, wrong direction. So that we went in and removed all the trees. This is the site after tree removal. Once we started to establish the bench for refuse removal, that was in March of 2025. Again, in the background above the train tracks, you can see the Little Juniata River there. And then this is the different view in March of 25. So probably March, April of 2026, this site would be finished. Tide is the AMLER project. We just started this one in May of 2025. It's going to be about 3 years to complete. We were working on this since 2006, maybe, trying to find a solution for this pile. It will completely remove 740,000 tons of refuse, reclaim 23 acres. It's about 500,000 tons is usable, and it's going to be reprocessed by hauling to Seward or Culver, and 240,000 tons of red dog. And that's going to be hauled to Robindale's permitted coal refuse site and then mixed with the ash that comes back. So far, we've done about 77,000 tons through September 30th, and about 57,000 tons, 58,000 was reprocessed fuel, about 75%. Again, quality to date is very low on BTUs. Saving grace of this one is it's only about 10 miles from Seward. But again, that quality, we're trying to hit a 5,600, so we have to have better fuel to offset with that. And then when we're done, this phase 2 of this project, the Indiana County Conservation District is working with the Indiana Parks and Rec to build an extension of the Hoodlebug Trail that will come up along the base of this pile. This was tied before in March of this year. Again, you can see the red dog space all throughout. And the other problem that this had, because the contours of this pile are so steep, any rain event when they have the erosion, in kind of the bottom section there, you can see a wetland that refuse washes down into. And then Yellow Creek is right there. It's right beside this pile. Again, a different view, and then on the left side of that photo, you can see the runoff issues that we've had there. Brings us to the last site was Cambria County, 350,000 tons in Vintondale. That was from March of 2022 through September of 2023. Quality on that one was 4,800, but it was very high sulfur, 5.1 pound sulfur. Robindale cost to do this project was $2.4 million, and OSM subsidy on this was $552,000. Total acreage was 10.83, and project partner on this again was the Rec Authority. Their Ghost Town Trail is immediately beside this site, and with some of the other work that we talked about with the DEP building the water treatment system on Blacklet Creek, they're realizing the recreational opportunity there, and the Rec Authority wants to build a kayak launch on this site to get increase that recreational use. A little bit with Vintondale. It was 1892. It was interesting. It was a company town owned by Warren Delano the fourth, and he was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's uncle. So he owned the town, and he was mayor of the town. It was predecessor of a gated community. There was a coal strike in the 1940s that FDR sent strike breakers to stop the strike, and the guy was arrested for trespassing by his uncle. So it was one of the first longwall mines. It was in the country. It was in the 1910s. They had 152 beehive coke ovens, and it ended in 1968. And this population is at that time in the early 1900s, Vintondale is kind of the epitome. It had the Italian section, the Eastern, it was all kind of segregated community. They had multiple different mines. The different mines spoke different languages. So they once had over 500 families, and in 2020, that's reduced to 412 people. So that 7 decades of the mining left this mountain of waste coal on the South Branch. That was it. I mean, it literally went right down into the stream. That was in the summer of 2003. This was after contract when we got the notice to proceed. This was before we started in December 2021. Again, this you can see throughout that pile all the red dog. So this pile had been smoldering since the 1910s, with all the air emissions and water emissions. This is in April of 2022. Once we started, we got our haul roads in, tried to establish benches. In our mining program here, we removed all the material closest to the road, got down to original ground, and as we mined through that, as we encountered red dog, we'd move the red dog back and kind of start to, black came out, red stayed. This site, here's another view. This is a year later, so that's the progress in a year. You can see the front part and the back part, the black's been taken out, and that's where we're placing the red dog. And this statistics is 350,000 waste coal tons removed for Seward or Culver to reprocess. That created about 300,000 tons of ash. The ash did not go back to this site. The ash went to our Dilltown facility. The Chapter 290 regs for beneficial ash, because the stream's so close to the water, you have to be more than 8 feet out of the watershed, and you have to be more than 100 feet from the stream. Go back one slide. This site was pretty unique. Is the kind of the top right, there was a wetland there. It's a cranberry bog. It's kind of a natural occurring cranberry bog that was off limits for us. So between 100 feet from the stream on that side and 100 feet from the cranberry bog, we didn't have any real area to take the ash back. Average quality, again, 4,800 BTUs. And this project completely removed 8,700 tons of pure sulfur that was leaching directly into the South Branch. We've already seen some quality improvements. This is data provided by AMR. You see the acidity. That's a measured refuse seeps that came off the pile. And we finished this, I said, in 2023. You can see, it almost completely went away. I left the one on there, there's a bog discharge. That bog discharge has aluminum in it. And as we go through some of these slides, you can see that impact on the stream. I think that DEP is looking at doing something with that, moving it down to the other site. Yeah. Bitten 3 discharge. This is aluminum. You can see it, just a tremendous drop in aluminum from the work, and total iron as well. And again, this is only in a few months after it sat for 100 years. So this site, beyond the scope of the work, we had done some other projects with Cambria County Conservation and Trout Unlimited folks in Hastings in Cambria County, where we cleaned up a refuse pile that was in the stream. And that project, the Conservation District sponsored, and we did stream bank work and trout structures with the Fish Commission to try to enhance that watershed. And that being part of the project, the end result there came out great. And selfishly, I'm quite a fly fisherman, so I'm thinking down the road, the South Branch quality has gotten amazingly better in 15 years. 15 years ago, this stream was completely dead. There were no aquatic insects. John, nanny-glow, bad. And there are wild brown trout in that stream now you can fish. I'm not going to give you any real spots, but if you go to Evansburg, where the Taco Bell and all these are, it's not far from there. And that whole stream there has the Blacklick, or the Ghost Town Trail by the Rec Authority. So you can use mountain bikes or e-bikes and access this and fish that stream now. And, I'm from that area. I grew up there. Most of this 95 million tons that we reclaimed was within 30 miles of where I grew up. And 15 years ago, if I wanted to fly fish, I had to come to down off the mountain. You had to come to Little Juniata or Spruce Creek or Spring Creek to get actual good wild trout fishing. And now I can, you know, mountain bike before or after work and be into wild trout. So this project, we decided we're going to take it a step further than what was in there. So we did a partnership again with AMR, the Conservation District, the Fish Commission, and this was a voluntary step. AMR and the Conservation District handled all the stream encroachment work. And then we worked with the Fish Commission, and they gave us a design for 1,000 feet of stream enhancement. And we worked cooperatively. You'll see some of the photos with the Fish Commission, Conservation District, that we provided the labor. Everybody worked together to do it, and Robindale paid for all the materials. It was about $15,000, and for, you know, the Fish Commission rate is about $62,000 for 1,000 feet of stream. These are the designs. They gave us 8 different structures that we were going to build. This is the before. So most of the refuse was removed at that point. That was in July of 2023. You can see that the toe of the pile was right into the stream. This is after we started in August of 2023. There's a disclaimer there. That was permitted to put that excavator in the water. While we were working on this pile, our guys were very careful through the OSM contract. Like, we always worked the inside out. We wouldn't even roll like a little rock down into the stream. But then after we were done, when we got the encroachment permit, they said, no, you can just drive right in there. So this was the August construction. Shout out to the fellow there on the right is Mark Stockley from the Conservation District. He's their, one of their watershed specialists and their Susquehanna River guy. And Mark and I grew up and went to high school together. So I was curious. He was just in there in sneakers and shorts. But, yeah, the rest of the folks, other than the guys in the excavator, were Fish Commission people. This is in September after we got the structures in. This is that bridge is an old railroad bridge. That's actually the Ghost Town Trail. One of the things I talked about, the bog discharge comes in right about just upstream from that bridge. You can see the effect of that milky aluminum down along the side. So hopefully when that gets piped down to the treatment center, that goes away. Now this is downstream look. You can see the pile has all been seeded on the right. So that's the before and after shot. So the point that I wanted to make is the 3 plants that we supply, we move at a Vitendale pile every 5 to 6 weeks. We're reclaiming. So it's a hell of a reclamation story for Western PA. Yeah, that's it. I gotta get my video go though. Uh-oh, we'll play. It did play in. All right, that's it. How was I on time, Christy? Good.
Technical questions? If anyone has any?
Jeff.
Okay, all the Vitendale, you mentioned that there was ash projects. Did those projects bring back the ash from your plants as you were bringing waste coal to the plant?
None of these sites had ash back.
None.
Which I wish they would have. Like that Vitendale project, again, Chapter 290 regs prohibited us from doing that, but at the end result would be so much better. Our ash is a 12 pH, and every site that we've done where we remove refuse and taken ash back, we've completely eliminated AMD treatment. When we mix, even if there's that red dog, if you mix that red dog with ash, even if it's 3 parts red dog to 1 part ash, there's enough alkalinity there to neutralize that. And we've done projects like Vitendale. I should have said that at the Vitendale site, that seeding is done with red dog with lime. And we had very little soil there. Once the refuse was removed, we had to move the red dog. We had to dig the dirt that was underneath the pile because there's houses and streams. There's no place for a soil borrow. The Barnes-Watkins site that we did in 2006 to 2008 as a Growing Greener project, that site we took ash back. and we mix the red dog with the ash, and by doing the soil sampling and putting in some organics, we were able to direct seed right into that red dog ash mix. And those sites now, there's a 99-year lease for AYSO, and they built soccer fields on them, on a site that was, 2 million tons of burning waste coal. So we wish we could take more ash back.
Give you a shout out to State Commissioner. We're very excited about bringing two pieces of this puzzle with Robindale and the AMLER program together. Back in 4 years ago, Bama received money to do an AMLER project on Inland 232, which is in Jacksonville, Louisville area of Indiana County. Robindale is under contract with us to remove 1.8 million tons of coal refuse and backhaul 1.8 million tons.
And that is a full surface mine permit, and it's a crazy thing that there's a kind of a discrepancy between the DEP active mining and the abandoned mine, where the state only wants us to take ash back to the Title V permitted sites. So we've done, of that 95 million, we're having discussions recently. We've done 9.6 million tons of that 95 that were not on Title V surface mine permits or refuse disposal. There are GSCCs, consent orders, just watershed general permits. And of that 9.6 million tons of, alternate permitted sites through BAMR or mostly through BAMR, we've only taken back 30% ash to those sites. Yes?
For these sites in particular, did you have sufficient available cover material, like on the parcels that you already owned, had access to? Did you have to acquire additional property or find off-site sources?
Everything was on site. It's usually once we dig through that pile and hit original ground, we'll scrape off any available topsoils. It's usually acidic as hell. You got to lime it. We set that aside and then reclaim from there. Yeah.
What's the typical depth of that you used on those sites?
Depth of the soil.
Depth of the cover material that you put back in.
Jeff, from zero, like Barnes Watkins, to a couple feet, probably max, maybe 18 inches. But like Barnes Watkins, there wasn't any soil available. There wasn't soil available at Vintondale. The Curveball Road is a different beast. There was soil that we acquired on site, plus that material that DEP hauled in from the Lakemont project that we can use.
Whatever you got available.
Whatever we can scrape through. Yeah. Yes.
It's amazing how much you do for the environment in your community. You're also really philanthropic. And if it hasn't been called out already today, you're one of the prime donors for our conference, prime sponsors at $5,000. So we're very thankful for that. But can you tell us about some of the other charities that you donate to?
Well, Robindale is the Crow family from Latrobe, and I've been with them for 25 years now, and from the day one, we've been, Scott Crow, you've got to be the community partner. You've got to be, involved in your groups. And I looked it up Ann was feeding me the question because this was a question came up. I did a podcast for them. So I looked it up in 2024. You're catching me. I think Robindale did $800,000 of community donations in this working area to 165 different groups. And that's anything from, $50 bake sales to tens of thousands of dollars for, environmental and education projects. So they've been quite a community partner. Yes, John.
Most of your projects, have they been located in sports, or is it because a local conservation district came to you, or BAMR worked with you? Obviously you're continuing to look for sources to keep your plants running. So the majority of these are combination thereof, or you kind of go out and identify it and see if you can find a partner, or the partner find you, or BAMR leads you to a partner?
I would say it's more BAMR leading us. because we supply that, and it comes out now, it's about 6 million tons a year that we're reprocessing. So, our large